A big part of the IEP process is the transition plan, and the action plan part of the transition plan has us talk about, educational needs, vocational needs, and independent living community access needs. And frequently, with some of our students, the family wants us to work towards that diploma. They want all of our effort to be on that, but we have to look at the other things. So I can talk to them about, well, if you work with MRC, they can kind of help with the employment end of it if you need to be using all your school energy on academics. And then when we talk about those independent living skills, well, if they have a job and they actually have some money coming in, then we can talk about, where can you get those skills for budgeting, and whether it means that you refer them to another agency to address that, whether it's a family supports them with that, or whether we recommend they take a finance course in high school. So it all really comes out through some really meaningful transition planning. And so that action plan of the transition plan really spurs the whole process.
At the beginning of every school year, we have professional development days before the school year starts. So I kind of steal part of that from my department, and I made a cheat sheet, if you will, for our special ed case managers on how a referral should be done, and what students would be appropriate as far as a profile for students who should be direct referrals versus those 688 referrals, and what the difference between those things are.
Chapter 688 referrals are for high school students with severe disabilities who are deemed by the local school district to need continuing services from an adult human service agency after leaving school, and who would benefit from an individualized transition plan, ITP. All students referred under Chapter 688 must be receiving special education services, be in need of continuing adult services, and be unable to work 20 or more hours per week in competitive, non-sheltered, or non-supported employment.
So it's really that communication with the case managers and making them aware of the types of students who should have referrals and when the referrals should be done. And as well as going over the paperwork with them. So Mass Rehab has their own application that needs to be filled out, which includes the Social Security number, so kind of explaining to case managers and prepping them of how to talk to families about the Social Security number, because that's usually the things that throws families off. And then of course the release of records. So we do that at the same time, so we do the application and the release of records at the same time, so that families aren't doing multiple pieces of paperwork and things kind of might get lost in the shuffle. If both those things are done at the same time, the release of records allows us to give our MRC counselors the IEP, the most recent testing, and allows us to communicate back and forth, which makes the process itself much easier if we're all able to communicate with each other.
Stephanie sends me the referral, usually through email.
Yep.
I print it out and I give it to the staff at Mass Rehab, who kind of processes it and gets it into our system. And along with that referral usually comes the release of information, so that's all taken care of right then and there. And then, like Stephanie said, once they're off the processing list, I let her know so that we can kind of coordinate that initial meeting with the parents, the student, and the case manager.
There are a lot of students in the Brockton Public Schools that are referred to Mass Rehab through 688 process. But we also figured out that there's a lot of students that are not referred to Mass Rehab through 688, but also would benefit from services. So we had kind of devised a way for ourselves to kind of identify those students and to make sure that everybody was kind of getting what they needed.
So students who don't come to Mass Rehab through a 688 would choose, if they're appropriate for Mass Rehab, to do a self-referral. We've developed a script we call it the self-referral script. And students with disabilities who are appropriate for Mass Rehab and wish to self-refer, we consider it to be a self-advocacy opportunity, really, to work with the students in that manner and have them refer themselves to Mass Rehab whenever possible. So the script basically walks the student through what is necessary when they make a phone call to Mass Rehab, because we know it's as simple as making a phone call. And it actually scripts out what the student should say and the information that he or she should have written out and available in front of him or her. when he places the phone call to Mass Rehab. When I personally sit with a student to self-refer, I also take the opportunity to go through their IEP with them, even just very briefly explaining, look at because when they refer to Mass Rehab, they need to have their, the name of their disability. So again, it's another teachable moment, self-advocacy, self-awareness opportunity with the students to, what is your disability? And we talk about what that means and what that means to them.
The other great thing about the self-script is just the excitement and the accomplishment that the students feel after they refer themselves. Because this, a lot of times, is the first time that they've taken a step to do something for themselves, that first step towards independence. And the excitement in their voice when they get to the end of it and they know that they did it, they're just so excited, because up until this point, probably their parents have done most of their referrals to things or handled most of things that were going to happen with transition.
For more information on MRC and the services available for students and youth, visit mass.gov/MRC.